Yes, sir.
Just wanted to ask a quick question. In the Word, it says, Yeshua says, for us to be as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves. I mean, I kind of been going over it, but the thing that bothers me is, like, I know in the Word, serpents are always have negative connotations, almost always. And the only time it's really being positive is when he says, be as wise as a serpent. Or as the Lord, he said the Lord God made the snake as more subtle than anything. So I'm just wondering, as far as being as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves, the wisdom part, what's the wisdom in being as wise as a serpent? Like how, in what way? Like the subtlety of the serpent, or?
Well, the word shrewd comes to mind. And sometimes shrewd has a negative connotation. But Jacob was shrewd. He told Laban, he says, okay, look, if I'll take for my hire, I'll take all of the goats that are striped and grizzled and all this kind of stuff, and Laban is thinking, oh, great, yeah. So, and he takes all of his herd as far away from Jacob as he possibly can. But what he didn't know was that Jacob had been visited in a dream where God had showed him these striped and spotted and grizzled goats, So my point in that is that Jacob said he already had some information that God had shared with him. He just didn't share it with Laban. Okay? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Shrewd. But he didn't impose any damage. He didn't inflict any harm on Laban. In fact, Laban prospered because Jacob was there. But the father was looking out for Jacob because Laban wasn't. So Jacob, he says, I'm going to be shrewd, but he's not inflicting any harm, even though he was blamed and accused and all this kind of stuff anyway. So I think of Moses. Moses is told before he goes down to Pharaoh, you're going to go down, you're going to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, but he's not going to want to let them go, so I'm going to deliver you with a strong arm and an outstretched hand, and he will let you go. When Moses and Aaron show up in Pharaoh's courtroom, they say, we're here on behalf of the God of the Hebrews, and he says to let his people go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to keep a feast unto the Lord. Moses never said anything about, and then we're going to go to the land of Canaan. Go check it out. He never said it. He didn't tell him a lie, because they did have to go to the mountain. They did have to go and keep a feast. All right? They did have to go and keep that appointment. It's just he didn't tell him everything. Right? God's a good general. God doesn't tell the adversary everything he's going to do. He tells him what he wants him to know. And then he lures the adversary into a trap, which is exactly what happened to Pharaoh, because once Pharaoh figured out, go read. Pharaoh said to Moses, go and do as you have said, which was what? Go into the wilderness, keep a feast unto the Lord. Okay, go and do as you have said. But when Pharaoh figured out they're going beyond that, they're escaping, what did he do? He pursued them and he walked right into God's trap. Why? Because God is a good general. He's a good soldier. He knows what he's doing. So I've always looked at that as being, there's nothing wrong with being shrewd unless your motivation and intention is to inflict harm and to be unfair, to be dishonest, and those kinds of things. But there is a shrewdness that God's people can have and be honest and be open and be lawful and not cross any boundaries that the Creator has established. So in my estimation, he's saying, to be shrewd when you need to be shrewd, but don't be harmful. All right? One other thought comes to mind. How much did Messiah say after he got through talking to his disciples, and then they went to the garden, and then he's brought before Caiaphas and Pilate and all those people? How much did he have to say? Very little. Why? He was being shrewd. He's being careful, But why? Because, see, if the princes of this world had known, they would have never crucified the Lord of glory. That's right. So God is shrewd. But he's never going to use that talent, gift, whatever word you want to use there. He's never going to use that to be dishonest with someone, to be harmful to someone, to inflict injury on someone. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's my thoughts on the matter. Okay?